there's a very interesting clip of Aaron Russo, where he basically says that Nicholas Rockefeller told him that 9/11 was going to happen before 9/11 happened. He told Aaron Russo that they were planning it, and he said that they were wanting to go into Iraq and Afghanistan. This was pre 9/11. He told him this, but the other thing he said was that they were going to get rid of Chavez as well, and that was one thing that they haven't achieved, because they use a multitude of different methods to control basically the entire Western world, the American government. They use covert methods, they use overt methods, they use weapons, they use bribery, they use any method they can to get control of every Western government. And because Chavez is basically, he stands on his own 2 feet and he speaks for himself and no one else, because he won't answer to them. That's why they don't like him, because he's his own man.
Right. And now we've got this Bilderberg excuse, they want to go into Iran next. Now Iran's just sent some of their own ships over on a flotilla to aid Gaza. I mean, that's another potential to be...
That's just another Chongqing Bay episode coming, I think, when you look at what's going to happen with that, isn't it? If they try it on with an Iranian ship, there's likely to be a full-on bloodbath if Israeli commanders try dropping on that, like. So they know what both sides of them in that scenario know what they're doing there, like.
I mean, just little subtleties in the language that the BBC use, where there was, the Turkish aid ship. They were calling them the activists. That's what they were referring to these Turkish people who were on this aid ship as, activists. The activists have been released by, the Israeli government. The activists landed, and it's just a subliminal thing to put in people's heads to think they're troublemakers. What does activist mean? It means troublemaker. They weren't troublemakers.
Instead of using the word humanitarian.
Yeah, like a classic example, though, the word activist didn't used to have a negative connotation all that long ago, but now it's become almost synonymous with terrorist, hasn't it?
Yeah. Well, they also strategically use the word insurgents instead of freedom fighters.
Yeah, that's all. There's a whole thing in a book called Unspeak that deals with that.
Just to go back to 7/7 on that for a moment, you said the word terrorist, or bombers. The mainstream media, apparently they were reporting them as alleged bombers, and then it became the bombers or the terrorists, not alleged terrorists. Now these guys never had an inquest or a trial, so technically under the law they are innocent. So therefore they cannot be called terrorists or bombers if there's not been an inquest or a trial. How can they do that in the media? So they're committing slander
to make people think in a particular way, isn't it?
Yeah, and this is why the judge was actually committing perjury in the 2009 case. He was perverting the course of justice by saying that you directing the jury that these boys or young men were guilty, and they've never had a trial. So how can they be guilty? And this is what Muad'Dib's, why he sent his documentary to that court, and then he gets banged up for 33 days because he submitted a very well-made documentary with a lot of valid information in it to a judge and the jury foreman. And I've interviewed Muad'Dib, and you can watch that on my website. If you click onto richplanet.net, on the right-hand side there's a recent links, Muad'Dib interview. It's about an hour and 10 minutes. We go into a lot of detail about 7/7 and basically the disgusting treatment that Muad'Dib has received. 8 people came up to his house early in the morning to arrest him in 2 plain clothes, and all he'd done was send a DVD to a court. Now they're trying to extradite him to stand trial for trying to pervert the course of justice. They're obviously very scared about that documentary. And
while we're back on the subject of false flag terror events, there's this Operation Blackjack. Would you like to talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, this was a fictitious sort of almost like a cartoon scenario which the Daily Telegraph put out about a year ago on their website, with no real explanation as to what it meant or why it was there. And just to summarize it very quickly, it speaks of the terror threat level being raised to critical on, I think it's the 20th or the 21st of June. This doesn't give a year, but this was last year. It then speaks about a rogue group getting hold of a nuclear or biological chemical weapon and setting off in London. This is on the 22nd of June. It speaks of there's similar weapons going off in America. Then we go into martial law. We then set off nukes on Syria and Iran and China. They then form a new government, a new world government with its own currency. But you know, people are saying that they think that they've done this subliminally so that people know what's going to come. I mean, and there are several other factors which make you suspicious of it. For example, the fact that the chief of staff has just been sacked, so that whoever is in charge can have better control over the military. You've got the Anglo-Saxon mission. Look that up on the net. A very, very similar whistleblower Freemason who describes a very, very similar plot which has been in place for decades, allegedly, he claims. And this was from a meeting that he attended in 2005 that they were trying to start a war with Iran and China. So it makes you wonder: is this Project Blackjack just a joke or what? But, you know, a lot of people because 9/11 and 7/7 both had items in the media which basically predicted them. There was the lone gunman before 9/11, which was a story very similar to 9/11, 6 months before it, and the Panorama program before 7/7, over a year before that program. So are they, you know, and there were lots of coded messages of Blackjack. You could do a program on the Project Blackjack story in the Daily Telegraph.
Yeah. It's all very negative. It's all very negative. Fear-based. Yeah, exactly. I thought if we're going to get the mass consciousness to focus on a date, instead of focusing on this Operation Blackjack thing, I would focus more on the conscious convergence of July 17th and 18th, when they're trying to elevate the mass consciousness of the planet to focus on a future of unity consciousness based on love, instead of all this death, destruction, fear and separation. So yeah, conscious convergence, so coming together rather than blowing ourselves up.
Okay. If I may, I'd like to make a comment about Northeast Truth in general. Dean, are you still there?
Yeah, yes, yep, certainly.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an absolute that are popping up and joining together to create this one truth movement. Feel it is gathering pace. Investigate the background of the alleged bombers. There are so many leads of investigation in 7/7. There are loads of them. Now, what I suggest groups like Northeast Truth should be doing is, it's all right saying that, you know, we don't have a leader, it's a movement, it's not an organization, but you could start projects. For example, you could have a 7/7 investigation project where you elect or you choose a leader, okay? That leader, you then create a team of people, maybe 10 or 15 people who volunteer to go on that team, and the leader allocates positions to different people in that team, and they say, right, you're going to you 2 or 3 people are going to investigate this particular witness, you're going to investigate this particular witness, and you maybe have a 6 months investigation with people all tying together with a common goal, okay? And that kind of activity does need leadership, and it does need someone putting rockets up people's arses and getting real results and trying to find information
and motivation.
Coordination, tenacity, leadership. It needs leadership. I'm not talking about a leader of Northeast Truth or the Truth Movement. It's a movement, but it needs. You could devise projects with, and that's what I mean. That and you allocate. But these.
I think you
like you say, the movement doesn't have a leader, but it investigate 7/7. We're setting up a project to investigate whatever, and then you have a team who work together and meet together, and then at the end of a 6-month investigation, if we can work together in that movement, but there's leaders in projects, it needs leadership, because you go on the 7/7 forum, you know, the 7/7 Truth Forum, and you just get people arguing with each other. There's no leadership in that. Oh, this can't happen because that.
I was just going to say, it seems as though like you've pretty much already started this project yourself, so if you'd like to coordinate that, I'm sure there'll be plenty of us willing to assist you in it.
And that's also a shout out to all the people out there who are listening, who are all nodding their head, knowing the sense in what's being said. If you're nodding your head now, just have a quick think. What could you contribute towards all that? And get in touch with us, and we will put the team together, because Richard D. Hall is absolutely correct. That is what we're here for.
And we'll be listing all the contact sites at the end. Just as another little interjectory little project which we could do, something that's just come to light. After the latest Bilderberg meeting fiasco in Spain, when they had all of these, it was either hundreds or thousands of people protesting in the streets, the Bilderbergs have taken the strange step of setting up an official website, and it's called bilderbergmeetings.org. Again, bilderbergmeetings.org, where it's a thinly veiled public front attempt at trying to make themselves look like a legitimate organisation. So, I mean, I'm not recommending people do this, but let's just say hypothetically, do it. Mass email the website and say, we know what you're really up to, and bombard them. I mean, we've got listeners now in something like 16 countries. Everybody go to that website, bilderbergmeetings.org, and send them a message so we know. I mean, if they were hit with thousands of emails, they'd know what they're up against.
It might make the knees knock a little bit if they realise how many of us there is who know what they're up to and have a good idea what they're planning for us, and we're not going to stand for it, are we? So.
Yeah, bilderbergmeetings.org. I mean, if they were legitimate, they'd film a meeting and put it up, wouldn't they?
Yeah, I wonder if they're on fit.
You gotta fight for the right.